It's been a little bit since I made a video. I kind of took a break for the holidays. I have not been doing much trading, and the trades that I have taken have been pretty uneventful. I had a couple like very small winners, a couple losses, not much to talk about. So, what I want to do in this video is I want to kind of get a fresh look at Bitcoin, go over price action, do top-down analysis with Market Cipher, and we'll see how things progressed since my last video, which I made approximately right here. It was just as we were losing this channel, and I just went back and watched the video. At least I skimmed through it to see what I was talking about because it had been so long. One idea I was, looking at, I'll say I mentioned it, although I wasn't really looking to trade it. Given the aggressive move down, I basically said I was done trying to knife catch. I did that a little bit on the way down, and I wasn't trying to do that anymore, especially since we were losing the channel. But I was looking at, the idea of SFPing this low into this anchored VWAP and not necessarily coming all the way down to the range low. And, we did do that. We did stop around this anchored VWAP. I would not say there was a really good trade from there, because if you waited for the reclaim of that low, I doubt you really would have been able to TP on that. I mean, it's a 2.4. That's like not really a great trade, I would say, especially since you would have gotten stopped out at your entry, or later on, if you kept your stop loss where it was, you might have gotten wicked out by this low over here. I would overall call that a bust. It wasn't a great trade idea, and I wasn't looking to trade it just because of the price action that we were seeing at the time. It was a bit too aggressive to the downside. But what I do think would have been a much better long to take would be the SFP of this, given the fact that we began ranging after that. That was an SFP of a range low. There were divergences. I know on some time frames there were some better looking confirmations, like local divs on the 30-minute. I think we might have seen money flow divergences on the 1 hour, and yeah, overall it was much thicker in the red here than it was over here. So that would have been the best trade to take. I did not take it, but I definitely would have considered this one a lot more than this one, just given, well, the price action that we saw previous to this. Before that, it was a range, so we can, at least have some kind of context to say, all right, we're taking out a range low if we reclaim it with bullish things that, can give me a long idea. I do still think it is a riskier trade, just given the fact that we are trading within a small range right next to another important range point, a higher time frame range low. But, given the fact that we, can't really get to that range low without losing this anchored VWAP, and also the fact that this low kind of doesn't really look like a low that I would want to be run. I mean, this was a massive liquidity sweep, a giant wick. We already took out a bunch of liquidity over here, so like, what's the point of taking it out again, especially if we have to lose this anchored VWAP to get down there? At this point, I would really prefer if we do not come down to this range low. I think this low looks good, and it does have potential to start rotating us back to the upside, maybe just to this range high. We could potentially rotate to the upside of this range and continue moving sideways. Maybe we do end up coming down to this low, but I do think that ideally I would like to see us break this range bullishly, and maybe after that we get a retrace, maybe we continue ranging, just trading in this higher time frame range. But we know that overall we can put in a higher low before coming back up towards that all-time high or the range high. So before I go any farther with talking about what I think about price action, let's go over market ciphers so you kind of have the same context as I do. So on the weekly time frame, we know that we got this red dot. Momentum has been retracing a bit. The yellow oscillator, or VWAP, whatever you want to call it, is appearing to flatten out and could potentially be approaching a bottom here. And, I do have the added context of the time frames below it, which is why I'm kind of saying that. But something I want to take a look at is, like, how long does it take from the VWAP to get from its bottoming point to crossing the zero line and getting a green dot? And, in this case, so it took 2 weeks, we'll say 3 weeks to actually cross over. So from bottoming point to actually crossing the zero line and printing this green dot, it was 3 weeks. In this case, it was 1, 2, we'll say, yeah, 2, because the green dot is on this one, so 2 weeks for that one. The ones next to that was 1, 2 weeks, but that was kind of a failed one. But again, from that bottoming point, 1, 2 weeks. So the reason I'm doing that is because I would really like to see this VWAP start curving back to the upside before momentum falls below the 60 line. I think if momentum kind of starts flattening out here, maybe like even retesting the 60 line, but this VWAP starts curving back to the upside, crossing over in 1 or 2 or 3 weeks from now, that would be a very good look. I think I would much prefer to print a green dot above or around the 60 line than to see momentum slip down below it. And, I already went over the higher time frame picture. I think money flow overall looks pretty good. We're still in an uptrend. It was, a little sketchy, I would say, taking out this higher high. You could say it's more of an SFP play, a little unsustainable move above a previous high, but I still think it looks pretty good. I mean, the money flow is very thick. We are at bull market thickness. I mentioned that last time. So, yeah, I mean, I am looking at this thinking that there's a good chance we just retrace with money flow and put in a higher low at some point. Now getting to the daily, I saw Flopping Groper mention this green dot down here, and I do have to say it does look pretty good. A nice thick momentum wave. It looks like, it fits the previous retracements on the daily time frame that we saw, these momentum waves. We are also seeing money flow start to turn back to the upside, a little bit of a fish hook on this. And yeah, I mean, I think overall this just in general looks like a pretty decent momentum wave. Could still technically be considered a trigger wave because, I mean, we do have higher lows like this if you are ignoring this one back here. And we also have the yellow oscillator or VWAP divergence as we, printed that lower just before it. That, is something that we saw previously with these trigger waves that worked. We saw the VWAP diverge before we printed that green dot. I guess in this case, we didn't really see the same thing because we didn't get, a false green dot. In these cases, we did. We got a false green dot, came lower, printed the trigger wave. Almost got a false green dot here. We came pretty close, but then we got a retrace. So, yeah, I wouldn't really say that's the same thing. But back here, we do see that again. VWAP divergence, big move to the upside, obvious, move back to the downside. We're kind of looking at swings here. The 4-hour time frame, nice money flow curvature. First thing that catches my eye is the money flow is curving back to the upside after a full-on reset. The classic curvature of money flow. Now it's crossing back to the upside. At this point, it looks like pretty good follow through, but it's a little too early to tell. But we can go to some lower time frames. I'd say money flow looks good here. We're not seeing follow through to the upside yet, but still. Overall reset and then the slow grind back to the upside, overall direction. 2-hour has that overall direction as well. And as we get to the 1-hour, we are starting to see money flow follow through a bit. So that is a good sign. That gives me a bit of faith that the other time frames above this, the 2, the 3, the 4, can start seeing their money flow follow through to the upside as well. 45 also pretty thick, 30 very thick. So we are seeing the lower time frames start to get a pretty aggressive move to the upside in terms of money flow. And let's talk specifically about that low, because we did have some nice confirmations on that low. Yeah, we did have momentum and money flow divs. It was a little weird looking, I would say, but we had, the actual from low to the low, that SFP, the initial low. We got the momentum divs, so momentum put in a higher low as price put in a lower low, and as we were approaching it, we did get some local money flow divergences with money flow moving to the upside, making a higher low. And just kind of clicking around on the time frames, again, money flow div, the classic regional momentum div, and of course on the 1-hour, the overall money flow div. Yeah, money flow was much thicker in the red back here than it was as we got that SFP low. So yeah, with all that in mind, I do think I like that low. There is still a chance that, we come back down in SFP once more. I think that is still a possibility, although I don't really see a reason to do that. We are so far holding this anchored VWAP. We only got one daily close slightly below it, which, I guess is a bit concerning, but we immediately, rebounded after that. So I think if we start getting follow through, like breaking past some important resistances, then we could definitely see price rotate to the range high. And if we break the range high, then I'll start looking at some higher targets. And now real quick, I'm not going to go too in depth on the low time frame stuff, but there is a nice bit of confluence with this mini range, specifically the volume pull of it. The volume pull has a nice confluence. The point of control of the big range is the value area high of the small range, and the value area lows match up. And we are currently running into the value area high / point of control And I think that if we're able to get above this resistance, then I'll probably be targeting the range high after that. And a few potential long ideas I have at the moment. I will say that I do like this uptrend that we got following that SFP. So if we start retracing from this resistance, I may look for longs. I'll look at local price action, look for local confirmations. Maybe I'll try to refine some areas of interest, but I may look to try and continue this uptrend. I don't think there's going to be a long setup after we break above this point. So, if that occurs soon, then I probably won't get a local trade. I may have to wait for the range to break and hope that we get a retrace after that. Which, for that specific idea, I would like to see price get significantly above this range high, getting past the value area high, maybe even getting up towards this channel backtest. Possibly that's where we find some temporary resistance. Maybe we retrace just a little bit. Maybe we actually come back and retest this range. If we start retracing or ranging after breaking above this high, whether it's a low time frame range like this, or we start some larger range, I'll probably be looking for trades after we break above this high. I think that would be an additional confirmation to think that we can continue rotating to the upside, back up towards the larger range high. And apart from that, my higher time frame plans are still the same. If we start losing this low, like we don't come down and SFP it once more, get a nice SFP and a nice reclaim with follow through, then we could start working our way down to some lower supports. I do have this 80k to 79k area marked out. I also have this high time frame area, which I mentioned in a previous video if you want to check that out. But apart from that, my high time frame plans are still the same. And I think that is it for this video. So thank you everybody for watching. If you enjoyed, consider leaving a like, subscribing, leaving a comment, all that YouTube stuff. I appreciate it. And I'll see you all in the next video.